Record. All right,
Well,
I just did the intro, but I forgot to press record. So, for those of you watching the recording, I'm not going to do the intro again. So, this is Tad, and Tad's going to lead a workshop. And away you go, Tad.
thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Tad Hargrave here from Marketing for Hippies. I know some of you know me and some of you don't, but wonderful to have you here. This is my Five Fundamentals Masterclass that I created at Bradley's behest and invitation to see if I could sum up everything I know into 1 hour. And I don't know if I've done it. We'll see if I can get it within the time, but I've trimmed and trimmed and trimmed, and here we are. So this is everything I know in marketing reduced to these five fundamentals, my core ideas. So we'll get started. So first of all, I guess in the chat, we've already got where you're based, but also I'd love to hear what's your best sense of your niche in the chat. So you can type as I'm moving along, but just a sentence. What's your, what do you do? Who do you do it for? What's your deal? That would be great. And Bradley, if you could maybe keep an eye open for if there's any niches that you think really pop, it'd be good to know. So by the end of this workshop, you're going to learn about my story, a little bit about what got me into this, what the five fundamentals are, and I'll tell you a bit about my ethical marketing starter kit and my membership. You're going to also be guided through 7 little micro reflections. Hopefully, you're going to feel a real sense of relief that marketing can both feel good and work, and feel clearer about where your marketing is strong and where it's weak. My intention today is to give you a 30,000 foot view on how I see marketing. Yeah. I'm saving the best stuff for the end, so stick around. Feel free to record and share this on social media as I'm going through. Take out your phone, take a picture, take a video recording, upload it to your stories. Feel free. Sometimes people wonder if it's cool to do that. The Grateful Dead did it. I can do it. I'm on Instagram at Marketing for Hippies. Otherwise, shut that thing off and let's just focus on what we're up to. So, a lot of people I meet are desperate around their marketing. It's the money is not coming in. They built it, but they didn't come. They left the job, but the new thing isn't quite working out. And all the dreams they had of this, doing something they love and making money just haven't been panning out. And that can create some desperation. So if you're feeling that, I get it. I've been there myself. But this is the thought I want to lay down today, is that depth is the antidote to desperation. If you feel desperate, what we need to do is we go deeper. And we're going to come back to that a bit more later. So first of all, everyone take a deep breath in. And for the next hour, your marketing is my problem. I'll give it back to you at the end. But for this next hour, I've got it. Yeah, and let's see what we can do with it. First question I really want to invite you to think about is to think of a business you admire, a business that you love, that's successful, that's making money, a business you probably talk about a lot, that you tell your friends about a lot, a business you're a big fan of. This could be a local business like a restaurant. It could be a clothing company you really love. Could be a crafter that you're a fan of. Could be a teacher, a coach. But just have one in mind that you really admire. Really think about it, because we're going to come back to that later as well. You might even write it down so you don't forget it. But who is this business that you just think is tops? Not just the ethics, but the effectiveness too. What they do is beautiful. What they do is it works, but it's also ethical, and they're successful. They're doing great, and you're just glad they're out there. So here's my story. This is me at Waldorf School in a play. I think I was Joseph in this. And so I went to Waldorf. I was raised, kind of in a hippie kid. My mom was a dealer for Valeda, or distributor, whatever, homeopathic medicine in Edmonton. And I was surrounded by this kind of, this world. And I went to Victoria School for the Performing Arts, which was Vic Comp in Edmonton when I went there. And again, I got to hang out with lots of artists and hippies. And then I worked for Tony Robbins, a franchise of his. And it was amazing. My father passed away when I was 9, and I didn't have a lot of this male energy. And so from Tony Robbins and his personal power cassettes, This is where I found some of it and other personal growth books. But I got a job eventually doing sales, first volunteering, sharpening pencils, and then I was doing sales for them. And there I learned some really good stuff, but also some of the pushy, aggressive stuff as well. You know, the likes of Tom Hopkins and Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy. And I don't dismiss everything they teach, but there's a certain orientation, which is to me the problem, and we'll talk about that today. And you know, I wanted to go to his mastery university, and that cost money. That was like 10 grand or something. And keep in mind, at this time, I'm in my early 20s. I definitely don't have that kind of money. But I really want to go, so I start raising money. I start hustling. I had a business before marketing for hippies called the School of Revolution, doing student workshops, leadership workshops, and I was making money with that. But I also was reaching out to friends and family to just like, could you donate so I can go to Hawaii to go to this Tony Robbins seminar? And I called my Uncle Art. Now, my Uncle Art, he when I was growing up, he was one of my babysitters, and if not an actual uncle, friend of the family, into soil sciences, sort of just a lovely kind of nerdy introverted fellow, but he was there for our family. And I called him up and I said, could you donate? And, you know, I learned all these tools of influence from Tony Robbins, the neuro-linguistic programming and neuroassociative conditioning and all manner from his Power to Influence program on how to sell people. And he snapped at me and he said, you don't need to wheel and deal me. And it was a real wake-up call for me of how did I, this Waldorf kid, artsy kid, hippie kid, turn into somebody who is wheeling and dealing people. And, you know, it took a lot. You can imagine from my Uncle Art, he's sweet, he loves me. For him to snap, it meant something. And it wasn't the only time this sort of thing happened. But eventually the franchise collapsed for other reasons. But it ended, and I really wanted to get as far away from marketing and sales as possible. But I ended up coming back to it, and I led my first marketing workshop in 2001. And it was no good, actually. It wasn't very good, but they did get better over time. And the question for me was, how do I teach marketing without repeating what I'd learned? You know, I'd learned all this shiesty stuff. And there was no marketing for hippies for me. I really didn't know what to do that was better. I knew some stuff hadn't felt good, but I also knew I knew stuff that my friends didn't know. I had friends starting ethical, good, holistic, green businesses. I knew more about marketing than them, and so I wanted to help. But how do I not repeat it? And there was nobody to learn from around it until I came across an ad from this guy, Ari Galper. This was around 2006, and I remember it was just on the right-hand side of the page. There was a little ad. I clicked on it because it was called cold calling the reverse selling way. And this notion of reverse selling struck me. And he was the first person I ever heard talk about sales in a way that was human and that made sense. And I devoured his work. I binged on it so hard for months and months and months. And so this no pressure approach that I got from him got woven together with 4 other strands in my life, which have become marketing for hippies, which is community building, which has been a lot of my life, activism, local economies work, plus culture work, plus ethical marketing. So I guess that's 5. But all those things have woven together, you know. I worked in Santa Cruz with the group Youth for Environmental Sanity, doing youth environmental social justice summer camps. I did anti-globalization protests with all the anarchists. Got involved with the local economies movement, this group, the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies. I started a project in Edmonton, the Local Good, bringing together folks in the local scene around sustainability. And then Stephen Jenkinson, I've been working with him in his Orphan Wisdom School since 2014. And that's really opened up a whole world of culture work. And there's other, you know, my own ancestry. But that's all come together into this business, Marketing for Hippies. And that's my website. So that's a bit about my story. But in the chat, now what I'd love to hear is, what are the things you've been told you need to do in marketing that feel off? You know, maybe you went to a webinar somewhere, or you took a course and they told you, well, if you want to succeed, You got to do this. Okay, so Tyler says you got to use scarcity, right? A kind of fake scarcity. You got to make up that there's only so many spots, right? You got to assume the sale. Oh my God, it's the worst. Assuming the sale, by the way, for those who don't understand what that means, is it means in the conversation, you say, you're selling a car. And you're like, oh, great. So we'll just start filling out the paperwork. And where are you going to drive the car first, do you think, right? You, instead of asking, do you want to buy this? And getting their consent, you just start talking as if it's true. And basically, you hope that that's going to bully them, that they're going to feel so awkward about saying no that they won't say no. Yes, I learned that technique too. Right, sell hard, sell fast, sell often. Oh, God, it's so gross. We use launch formulas, which can be okay. I'm not actually against all launch formulas, but what was it, George, in the launch formula that didn't feel good to you? Invest a lot of money in Google ads. It can work if you got the right Google ads, right? Urgency, panic. Oh my God, buy now, buy today. God, you'll end up a wretched failure forever if you don't purchase this second. Let's see what else. Pricing that ends in a 7, right? Push on their pain points. Yeah, just punch the bruise. Let me see your bruise. Wham, wham, wham. Pour salt on their wounds. All of that stuff. Cold calling to talk about my services. Cold calling should be about finding out about the other person. Yeah. Or sending cold messages, right? On LinkedIn. I'm just going to start sending cold messages to everybody. Well, persuade people to sign up by telling them it might seem expensive, but think how much it will cost you if you don't. You're investing in yourself, right? Applying pressure. Yeah, in all these ways. Okay, thank you, everybody. There's more that I can't go through them all. But you don't need to do a lot of those things to succeed. That's the first thing I just want to get out. You really, none of those things on the list do you need to do. Anything that feels off to you in marketing, just know you don't have to do it to be extremely effective in marketing. So this is my alternative approach, 5 fundamentals. Here we are. So first of all, a note on overwhelm today. Remember, there's an ethical marketing starter kit I'll tell you about, and you can review a lot of this there. Keep breathing as we go through, because it's going to come fast. And just take what's easiest. Let the rest slide by. It's all good. You don't have to get everything. This is not all supposed to land for you on this call. There's just a lot here. So again, here's the idea. Depth is the antidote to desperation. Yeah, depth is the antidote. If you're feeling desperate, what we want to go deeper. Okay, but depth into what? Deeper into what? These 5 things. So this is the 5 fundamentals. We start at the bottom with ethics, meaning the willingness to take a stand for something, the willingness to do what's right, the willingness to consider a bigger picture than just you and yourself. Then there's niche. There's being known for a particular thing. Then there's your point of view. What's your philosophy? And being willing to share that in your marketing. What's your concept, your understanding, your cosmology, your approach to the issue? Sharing that is a really important part of marketing. Then there's business model, which is all about the structure, the architecture of your business. And then hubs, which is the question of where are you going to find these people? Those are the 5 things we want to go deeper into. So let's go a little deeper. First, 2 shameless plugs. First of all, there's a little QR code you can scan if you want. I have a membership. It's $100 US a month. You get weekly live calls with me. All my ebooks, webinars, all my products are included for free. I've got 4 quarterly semesters where we go into these fundamentals more deeply. So if you resonate with what you hear today and you want some more hand-holding and accountability support, more resources, that's what we go into in the membership. And also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you get 25% off the price of one-on-one coaching. You can find that at marketingforhippies.com/membership. And again, you can scan the QR code, but easy enough to find on my website. And then there's also the Ethical Marketing Starter Kit. That's really easy. That's just on my homepage on my website. If you go to marketingforhippies.com or marketingforhippies.com/starter kit, but there's a QR code if you want to scan it. And this is basically this workshop, plus there's a series of emails that you get with it that are just going to walk you very baby step by baby step into this content and help you take what we're doing today and integrate it a bit more. So There you go. So those are my two shameless plugs. Those are the two things I most wanted to share with you today. Let's start with ethics. So in the chat, on a scale from 1 to 10, how good does marketing feel? 1 being the lowest. How good does marketing feel to you right now? Okay, wow, lots of ones. Okay, thank you for your honesty. Very grateful. Okay. So this is my intention. Whatever number you wrote down, let's see if we can move it up by 1. Let's see if we can get it at least up by 1 by the end of the hour. And Bradley, thank you for throwing the links in there. So the question I would ask, a rhetorical, don't need to put it in the chat, but it's worth wondering about, okay, so marketing feels bad for a lot of people. I didn't see any 9s or 10s getting thrown down there. So what are the consequences of marketing feeling bad or feeling off or not wonderful? Well, here's some of the consequences that's worth thinking about. Number 1, you just won't do it. If marketing feels bad for you, you will avoid it. You just will put it off. And if you do it, it will feel awful, and it's suddenly your life is being spent doing this thing that feels no good. But if it feels bad to them on the receiving end, what happens? They avoid you, they ghost you, they vanish, and you'll never know why. And you get this bad word of mouth and this reputation. And now other people are avoiding you and you don't know why. And it's not the quality of your work. It's not you as a person. It's that they don't want to be pushed by you. Yeah, they don't want to be on the receiving end of these manipulations. So when marketing feels bad, I just want to make the case that this isn't just an ephemeral, like, oh, it kind of feels bad and you just got to suck it up and push through. No, the feeling bad will undermine your capacity to push through, and it will push people away. Right. But this notion of like, oh, I don't want my marketing to feel gross, that's not a clear enough orientation. If it's good to know, it's good to be aware, like, okay, marketing doesn't feel as good as I'd like it to feel. That's good. But if you're driving a car and the way that you're driving is by looking at all the things you don't want to hit, you're going to hit those things. It's a dangerous way to drive. So the same in marketing. We don't want to just know what we don't want it to feel like. We want to know, how do we want it to feel? So in the chat, I would love to see, what are the words you want associated with your marketing? And what I mean specifically is this. You're at a party and you overhear people talking about you behind your back. And they say, man, yeah, Brad's marketing is so fun. It's so authentic. It's so enthusiastic. It's so clear. What would you want them to say that you'd be like, oh, yes, what a relief. Okay, so we've got some great words coming here. Right? Oh, the marketing is so supportive. It's so fun. Oh, man, his marketing is so creative. It's so relatable. Oh, it's so honest. It is so intriguing. It's light. It's inspiring. It's fun. It's informative. Ooh, it feels like a natural fit for my life. It's refreshing. What a great word. Oh my God, that whenever I get an email, it's so refreshing. It's so integral, authentic, helpful, down to earth, feels light, intriguing, authentic, peaceful, genuine. Okay. So those were, it's punk. Okay. Yeah. Oh man, I wish people would say my marketing is punk, but it's not. So whatever those words are, here's a little exercise that you might find very helpful, surprisingly helpful for how easy this exercise is. Pick the top 3 words that you want people to associate with your marketing. This is really worth taking a few minutes to sit down with and think, what would be the 3 words that I want all of my marketing to feel like? Because for every one of you, it'll be a different 3. Yeah, it's going to be a different 3 words. And so it guides your marketing. And anytime you send an email, anytime you're going to meet with somebody, that's the aim. So instead of aiming at, I don't want it to feel bad, it's like, okay, how could this interaction feel light, fun, and honest? Or how could this email I'm about to send, could it be more authentic? Could it be more punk? Could it be more badass? Whatever the words are that you want, could it be more that? If you have those 3 words and just put them on a wall, it's surprisingly powerful. So there you go. And remember, be careful in your marketing, not fearful, right? You look at the etymology of those words, look at the breakdown of it. Be full of care in your marketing. Don't be full of fear in your marketing. If you're full of fear in your marketing, you're going to be off rhythm. Don't focus on what you don't want. Don't focus on that you want it to feel bad. Be full of care. Focus on those 3 words that you want it to feel like. So why do we start with ethics? Well, at a certain level, it's obvious. And if you're at this call, you're on my list or Bradley's list, my guess is you sort of had the ethics handled. But I just want to give an affirmation of why this is so important. Almost all of marketing comes down to word of mouth. At the end of the day, in the long term, it's all reputation. It's almost always that. And that statistically bears out, by the way. When you look at how do people hear about various products, like 50% or more is just from a friend I heard. Yeah. And when you're looking for stuff, don't you ask your friends? So it's almost all reputation. And if you behave unethically, that becomes your reputation over time. And really, people avoid you. You're making your life so much harder if you behave unethically, if you burn a lot of bridges. You're always having to find new people then. You're not getting the referrals and word of mouth that you could have. It's just desperately more difficult if you behave unethically. In the short term, it is faster. In the short term, it does work better. But if you're in business for a while, which we're going to talk about in a minute, it doesn't work. Right. And what are the consequences of marketing feeling good? Right. If your marketing really consistently nailed those 3 words, what are the consequences of that? 1, you want to do it. 2, people want to share your work. People send people to your marketing events. They'll say, yeah, Tad is doing this signature workshop. You should go to it. But if they know that I'm going to be closing hard and applying this pressure and shaming people and all this, they're never going to send people. They're going to tell people to avoid your marketing. They might say, yeah, go get the products, but God, don't go to the events. No, there's so much pressure. So when it feels good, it works better for everybody. So why does marketing feel so bad? This is one of these central questions we need to address. Why does it feel so bad? Well, because the truth gets sacrificed on the altar almost all the time. That's why. Marketing, so much of it, the high pressure stuff that you wrote about in the beginning, is so anti-truth, right? It's the covert agenda that's never spoken about, but always there is get the sale. Who's drawing on my slides? Somebody just drew something on my slide. So the covert agenda is to get the sale. Again, nobody says this. Nobody in a sales call says, so during this conversation, I'm going to be using a variety of tools and tactics to get you to sign up. I'm going to be using your name a lot, Brad, because people like it when you use their name, Brad. Isn't that true, Brad? I'm going to love bomb you. I'm going to like you, and you're going to, you're going to be so happy because I love you so much. I'm going to use scarcity as a tactic to an urgency so that you feel like you really have to buy now. I'm going to use commitment and consistency. I'm going to get you to make a lot of small commitments so that it's real hard to say no at the end because you said yes to all these. You see what I'm saying? Nobody just says, here's what I'm doing. That's one of the big questions around ethics. Would you be willing to tell the person you're sitting with all the tactics you're using? Would you be willing to just break it down like that? So that's why it feels bad, is we can feel that we're being worked. We can feel that we're being maneuvered somewhere. That's the heart of it all feeling bad. But what we could do, oh gosh, somebody really has drawn on my screen. Unbelievable. How do we, is there an eraser here? Am I clear?
I am so sorry. I don't know how I did that. It was not
There we go.
intentional. I truly apologize.
That's amazing. I've never seen it happen before. It's incredible. A new trick learned.
Learned. Yeah, and actually, I just figured out how now I can do it too. So, yeah, so we want to get to this is the overt agenda that I recommend. We want to get to the truth of if it's a fit. That's the goal. This is what makes marketing feel good. Instead of trying to get the sale, we go for the truth of, is this a fit at all in the conversations? And this really comes down to consent and permission. Yeah, informed consent. We're not trying to get people to say yes to something they don't understand. We're trying to slow it down a little bit and say, is this really a good match? Is this a good fit? That's the goal. That's why marketing can feel good when it feels good. And that's why it doesn't feel good when it doesn't, almost always. So everyone, I'm going to invite you to try this. Put your hands together in the prayer position, like this. Yeah, really try this because there's something very interesting here. And with your right hand, yeah, I want you to push as hard as you can against your left hand. Push, 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 and then grab your left wrist and pull as hard as you can against your left wrist. Pull, pull, pull. So without seeing all of you, I'll tell you what happened in almost every case was this and this. But that's not what I told you to do. I told you to push with your right hand as hard as you could. So here's what should have happened. Pull. It should have been this. But that's not what happened, was it? You pushed back and you pulled back. So this is important. This is why we start with ethics. This is why we start with this commitment to the truth of if it's a fit rather than pushing for the sale. Because when people get pushed, they push back. When people are pulled, they pull back. Even if that somebody is you. Isn't it amazing? Instinctively, we do this. So that's what happens in interactions. When people feel pushed, they push back. And now we're not having a human conversation. Now we're stuck in a power dynamic. And that's going to feel terrible to everybody. So there's another way to do it, right? And this is something that came to me just a few weeks ago that seems important. We want to have an agenda for the process, but not an agenda for the people. Is it okay to have an agenda, to have a plan, a marketing process with the agenda to get clients? It is. That's totally ethical. But is it is it ethical for me to have an agenda for you to buy now and sign up in this conversation? I don't think so. I think that's where the trouble begins. So have an agenda for the process, not an agenda for the people. But there's also this. People often have this thought, I should be better at marketing themselves, right? Marketing feels so bad. And part of why it feels so bad, it's like, God, I should be better at this. It shouldn't feel so bad. I should be more effective at it. I should feel better and more relaxed. But as it is, I feel extremely awkward with self-promotion. I get nervous about it. I'm not that good at it. Can I get an amen in the chat if that's true? That you just have this thought like, I should be better at this. Damn it, I'm not that good at it. Secretly, I don't want to tell anyone, but I'm just terrible at promoting myself. Yeah, okay, lots of amens. It's true, hey? We're just not that good at it. So our superpower as humans, you might be relieved to know, it's not self-promotion. That is absolutely not our superpower. In fact, it is our kryptonite. For almost all humans I know, self-promotion makes us kind of weak at the knees. The invitation to, hey, could you stand in front of us and convince us to work with you is like, it's not a fun time for anybody on the giving or receiving end. There are some people who are really good at relentless, constant, shameless self-promotion, and they are called sociopaths. But for the rest of us human beings, this is just kryptonite. Yeah, so it's not our superpower. Our superpower as humans is promoting others. Isn't that true? Also, can I get an amen that you're really good at promoting others? You're so good at it. Oh my God. You're amazing. The business that you named earlier, haven't you promoted the hell out of them? The business you admire? You're just like, you've sent them, they should send you commissions. You've put one of their employees through college with all your promotions. It's so much easier to promote others. Okay, so we have a kind of consensus. You're terrible at self-promotion, but you're good at promoting others. Now, here's the thing. You will always be terrible at self-promotion. Let's just accept that fact. I know that's rough to hear, and it sounds depressing. You're always going to be bad at it. You're never really going to be that good at it. It's not going to get much better. That sounds like a depressing thing to drop in the middle of this workshop, but this is actually the most beautiful, hopeful thing. Because if our superpower is not self-promotion, our superpower is promoting others, well then, remember, haven't you been amazing at promoting this business? Let this sink in a bit. You're really good at promoting them. So then, if that's true, other people will always be better at marketing you than you are. Okay. So let that sink in for a second. Other people are always going to be better at it. I'm really good at promoting others. Other people are really good at promoting me. So then what does marketing become? If that's the reality on the ground, we can have all our theories, about how it should be. And you can spend $10,000 in somebody's inner work course to get over your stuff about promoting yourself. I'm not saying the inner work isn't needed, but let me try to save you years of therapy with this. Marketing is about making it easier for the people who love you to share your work. This is one of the primary things in marketing. Instead of you trying to get better at promoting yourself and feel more comfortable, how about instead we try to make it easier for the people who already love us to share our work? It's a much gentler, much easier, and ultimately a much more effective way. Yeah, we don't have to get good at it. You don't have to feel bulletproof and confident. It's okay and human and normal and endearing to feel awkward about promoting yourself. When I was in Brighton, I got hosted by Carlos and Lawrence from the Happy Startups, who, if you don't know about them, and you're in the UK, you're missing out. But they hosted me to do a workshop, and I said, "Do you want to come up and you should talk about what you're doing, a Happy Startup?" Because some people were there didn't know them. And Carlos, as he's standing up to go to the front, he's like, "Oh, fuck." And I pointed it out to everyone. I said, "I just want to." That's a very human response. There's nothing about that means he's bad at what he does. It's just nobody wants to promote themselves. We all just want to promote other people. So I instead get to be the one who promotes him. It's a better setup. It's a better deal. Okay. Right. So how do you make it easier for the people who love you to share your work? That becomes then the question, right? What do we do? Well, these 5 things. If you have these 5 things in place, it makes it dramatically easier for people to share your work. So we've already talked about ethics. Let's talk about niche. So how to destroy your business? I don't know. Maybe it's just you're like, you know what? I've had a run. I just want to let it die. I just want to take the life support off, watch it die. Here's how you do it. One move. I mean, there's lots of ways to grow your business. I'll give you one to just take it out at the knees. Be everything to everybody. It's so easy. Just try to be everything to everybody and watch it just. You probably all intuitively get this. Yeah, it doesn't work to try to be everything to everybody. This is my definition of niche. Your niche is the role in the marketplace you want to be known for. That's what I'm talking about when I say niche. It's the role in the marketplace that you want to be known for. And you can't be known for everything. You can't be known for everything. So we just give up trying. Collapse in a heap of defeat and okay, I'll choose something that I'm going to be known for, one role. And here's some examples. This is a website, evolutionary.love, and Joe Byron Russell. And check out this as a niche of something to be known for. I mean, look at that headline. In 4 words and an image, we know what it's about. What happened to us? Tagline, therapeutic coaching for couples in crisis. Very clear what this is, who it's for. Yeah. Alex Baisley, one of my dear friends, right? He's got this, right? An impromptu wander around my kitchen, invitation to check out my big dream program. If the topic of life purpose, life direction, finding your calling, or put more simply, figuring out what the sweet holy fuck am I doing next in my life is a big question for you these days. This program is about that. Bigdreamprogram.com. You probably know if that's you or not. And this is the key. With each of these examples, if this is you. And you're in this situation, if this is you. And here's another one. One of my favorites. Are you parenting with a narcissistic partner or ex? Boom. If you're in that group or not. And you probably know if you know somebody who's in that situation. So if you do, send them to our website, coachingwithnasanka.com, and check out the result. I can help you preserve your sanity, take your life back, and help your children thrive. So with all of those, you see that they're not trying to be everything to everybody. They're not, I'm a coach who can help you with anything. I'm a practitioner who can help you with anything. They're doing something very specific and particular. Right. And Angela said, I did send her site to somebody very specific. Yeah. So when we're talking about niching, the easiest way to understand it, I got from Bill Barron, a colleague of mine years ago. Your ideal client is on Island A when you find them. Yeah. They want to be on Island B. Now, on Island A, they're very sad. Why? Because they have some symptoms that they don't like. They want to be on Island B because there's a result that they're craving. That's if you're a service provider, that's the formulation. And your business is like a boat that can take them from one island to another. All your modalities that you do, this is the boat. And there's you, captain of the boat. Your ability to articulate not just what your boat is. This is the problem. This is the mistake a lot of service providers make, is they talk about their boat incessantly. And nobody, for the most part, people don't care about your boat, but they do care about, can you help me get from Island A to B? Right? So you can see that in these examples. Island A, what happened to us? Island A, what am I doing with my life? Island A, I am parenting with a narcissistic partner or ex. Very clear. So everyone take a deep breath in. Inhale. Outhale. Very good. You're doing great. Right. So your niche has your ideal client saying, that's me. That's me. Oh my gosh, this is me. Or I know somebody. Yeah. But your ideal client will recognize themselves in what you've articulated. But to get them to trust you, that's a different thing. And that comes down to point of view marketing. So, okay, we're going to play the Imagine a Workshop game. So in the chat, I'd love to see what's a topic of a workshop that you would go to? Like, what's a problem maybe you, or maybe somebody you know has, that's a significant problem, and you're like, I'd go to a workshop on this. This is a significant enough issue that I'd want to go. I only need one. So in the chat, if anyone's got one, what could this workshop be about? This is like a little improv game here. Okay, how to feel more comfortable with public speaking. That's all we need. Great. Thank you for your suggestion. So imagine you go to a workshop, because I say, hey, Bradley and I are both talking about doing signature workshops. Public speaking is very important, whether it's online or in person. And I know some of you feel nervous, so we've got a workshop that you can go to. And it's on public speaking, and we both endorse it. And you say, well, hey, Tad and Brad, they both got great beards. How can we not trust them? So you go to the workshop. But the workshop is fucking terrible. It's a really bad workshop. You can't even believe we endorsed it. You're questioning our judgment and your judgment of us. I mean, that's so bad. Like, the person is saying, if you want to succeed in public speaking, what you got to do is adopt a different accent than the one you naturally speak. I don't talk like this off stage. That's number one. Number two, you got to just shame your audience. You got to find out what they're most ashamed of and hit that again and again and again. Also, you got to memorize everything word for word. You think I'm spontaneously saying these words? This is all a script. It's just terrible advice. What in the chat? What would be other terrible public speaking advice? Like, what's the worst advice you can possibly imagine somebody giving for public speaking? Just get drunk. Before you do, just take the edge off. Have 2 or 3 beers. Just imagine them in their underwear. In fact, imagine yourself in your underwear. Right? Don't take no for an answer as you're speaking. Right? Make everyone answer yes every time you ask a question. Right? Just whisper. Make them lean in. Make them work for it. Make them earn your words. Just scream real loud. Right? Speak so fast that nobody can understand you. Anyway, that was great. You guys get it. Okay. Right. And always think about what's the worst thing that could happen as you're speaking. Focus on that. Let that fear motivate you. Anyway, I won't go on. It's a terrible workshop. But when we get to the pitch is really good. I mean, as bad as the workshop was, you have to admire the pitch. There's a really well articulated offer. The packages are extremely clearly laid out. There's a double your money back guarantee on this. People stand up and give testimonials while screaming and whispering in different accents. Anyways, but the pitch is really good. Here's my question to you. In the chat, do you buy? The workshop was terrible. but the pitch is really good. Do you buy? Yeah, of course, no, probably not. It's a lot of no's. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine the opposite. All right, you might buy and then regret it later. Bradley's on the fence. Understood. Understood. It could be good. You got to guarantee. Okay, but now imagine the opposite. You go to the workshop and it's the most amazing workshop you've ever seen on public speaking. And by the way, have any of you been to a workshop that was so good that you kind of measure your life? Like, you can put this in the chat. I'm kind of curious. Have you been to a workshop where it was so good you kind of measure your life as before that workshop and after that workshop? Or maybe it was a book, which is kind of a written workshop. So Athena says yes, Rachel says yes. Okay, so there's a number of yeses. That's good. That's good. For if you do have a yes for a book or a workshop that really was like, wow, you were weeping of relief, like, oh, this problem I've had for my whole life, this makes sense of it. There's a way forward. I've given up hope. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. If you had something like that, this workshop on public speaking, it's that good. You felt so nervous about public speaking, and at the end, you're sitting there, genuinely sort of misty-eyed, like breathing like this could work. I could actually get in front of people and feel confident, and oh my God. But then the pitch is awful. It's a really bad pitch. You've never seen a worse pitch. It's sort of like, thank you everyone for coming to my workshop. If you'd like to work with me, why would you want to work with me? Nobody wants to work with me. I wasn't loved as a child. And they run off crying, Or it's, what I'm saying. It's a bad pitch. It's not well done. It's not organized. It's unclear. It's fuzzy. Here's my question to you. They're offering something. But you're not totally clear what it is, but there is something. In the chat, do you think you might still go up to them and ask them, could I work with you? Like, what do you think you would do in that situation? Like the word, maybe they didn't go crying, right? But it was just not a good pitch. But you're like, man, you're smart. It's yes, right? You might at least talk to them. Go up to them and say, look, I loved what you had to say. I couldn't tell if you have an offer through the weeping. Maybe we need to work on your self-esteem. But about this issue that I'm here for, you know a lot. Do you work with somebody? Please hear me. Obviously, I'm not suggesting do a terrible pitch at all. Of course, have a good pitch, but be able to share it clearly and well. But what I'm saying is the trust of whether or not they trust you to help them from island A to island B does not live in the pitch. It lives in the point of view. So, right, people are coming to your workshops or your events saying, why am I suffering? Why am I on island A? Why can't I get off island A? That's where they're at, right? They don't want content from us. They want context, right? Because pain is bearable. Most of us have found in life we can bear pain. You can grit your teeth, you can get through it, but not knowing why you're in pain, that's the unbearable thing, right? They don't want just content from us. They don't just want information. They want context. They want to understand, why am I suffering? And remember, if they don't buy the diagnosis, they'll never buy the prescription. So often in marketing, people are focused on, how do I get people to buy my prescription? That's not the focus. With point of view marketing, we say, no, no, no. We focus on making a case for the diagnosis. And if we make a proper case for the diagnosis, they'll almost certainly buy the prescription from us or somebody. If they don't buy the concept, they won't buy your course. If they don't buy your perspective, they won't buy your programs. This is so important to get. So in the chat, in one sentence, you help people with a certain problem. Yeah, we don't even need to know what the problem is. But in one sentence, I'm going to invite you to put in the chat, what's your take? If you had to put in one sentence, why are your people suffering with whatever it is that you help them with? Why are they suffering? What's your diagnosis? What's your point of view on that? What's your take? What's your understanding of why they can't get off island A? Why they can't solve the problem? What's going on? right? Rachel says our society doesn't teach people how to relate and connect. Of course you struggle. That's a good way to phrase it. Like, of course you're struggling because, right? Of course you're struggling. Of course it's hard. Our society doesn't teach you to do that, right? You're suffering, your nervous system is dysregulated. You're trying to figure this out in your head, but your nervous system is hijacked. Momo says, right, they're afraid to express childlike nature and joy. That's why you're struggling. You're just so scared. Or Lisa says, because they feel they have to do it alone. You've been trying to do this alone and it's not working. And actually, you can't do it alone. You're going to need help and other people. Margot says, not giving enough attention to transformation. Peter says, because they, introverts, are surrounded by an extroverted world, and that makes them feel shitty about themselves. That's why. You want to know why you're struggling? You're in a world that's mismatched to you. And once you know that, once you realize that, you can do something about it. So this is whatever sentence you've written down here, and it's a good exercise. I won't be able to read them all, but it's a good exercise to just, what would I say? That becomes the through line of your signature workshop. That becomes the through line of your marketing. That's the case you're making. Yeah. And this is a key phrase to write down and remember forever. When we get to sharing the point of view, again, we're not making the case for them to buy from us. We're making the case for a perspective. So the key phrase is this: look, whether you work with me or not, here's the approach I suggest. That orientation, that wording will help put you in that orientation. But just that orientation of like, look, I'm not telling you this so that you'll buy. I'm telling you this to so that you can be helped, so you can get the results you want, whether or not you work with me. So now you have your ideal clients, they trust you because you shared your point of view, but what are you going to offer them? Well, this takes us to the business model, which is the architecture and the structure of your offerings. And here are 5 key business model questions. Very short, don't put it in the chat. This is just make a note of these questions. Question number 1, is this a business or a hobby? Very critical question to have. There's nothing wrong with having a hobby. You don't have to monetize every square inch of your life. But is what you're doing a business that's going to sustain you financially, or is this the hobby that you do for fun? People sometimes are oriented like it's a hobby, but they're pretending it's a business, and that causes a lot of stress. Number 2, how long do you want to be in business? Because if you just want to be in business for 6 months or a year, that's very different than 30 years. So just do a gut check on yourself. How much longer do you actually want to be doing this? That will affect the business model you make. If you're in business for a year, I would say don't build a crazy big business model that's too robust. Be agile, just hustle. But if it's 30 years, I'd say build yourself a log cabin. Yeah. And if you want to be in business for at least the next 5 years, then here's question number 3. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? When we're looking at business model, and I got this from Alex Baisley, bigdreamprogram.com, start with the lifestyle you want to have and you back your business model into that. You do not start with the business model and then try to fit the lifestyle you want on the edges. Start with the lifestyle you want to have. Yeah. So, but what is that lifestyle? That's a very critical question in business model. Number 4, how much money do you want to make every year? Oh, this is a tough one for the hippies because we don't think about it a lot. But you can break that down per month. I mean, look at what are your expenses per month? What's the minimum you need to make for this business to be viable, for it to work for you? If you don't know that, how can you build the business model to create it? We got to know what we're aiming at. And question number 5, right, by the way, note, marketing doesn't make you profitable, since we're talking about how much money to make. Your business model does. Marketing just gets people in the door. But if I sell these little hydrogen water things for $150, but it costs me $175 to make them, you see the problem. More marketing means I just lose money faster. Question number 5 is, do you have a structure to make that happen? Okay, you know how much money you want to make every year. You know the kind of lifestyle you want to have. But do you actually have a structure that's going to help that happen? Do you have a plan? Do you have an architecture that will inevitably result in that? And if not, that's the business model question. Right, so now that you have the ability to get the attention and trust of your ideal client, and you have something to offer them, where do you find them? And that's the 5th piece, which is hub marketing, right? So the hub meaning the center of the wheel where all the spokes connect. That's what a hub is. And here's the story. This is my favorite story about hub marketing. It's kind of the only story that's needed. In Canada, I don't know about where you live, we have the Girl Guides. They're like Boy Scouts, but it's the Girl Guides. And they go knocking door to door selling their cookies. This one is little vanilla, it's, maple, I think. And then you got this double chocolate. They're not that great, but they're not terrible. And why do we buy them? Because they manipulate us. Because they push the youngest, most adorable one first, and then we can't say no, and we fork out our money, and we want the cookies, and so we buy them. That's a fundraiser for them. And again, they go walk around neighborhoods knocking on doors. But there was one girl guide, and she was in a wheelchair, and she couldn't go door to door. So her father had the idea to build a little, like a lemonade stand, for her to sell her cookies at. But wait, where are you going to put it? Are you just going to put it on your street and hope enough people walk by? Is that actually going to be more effective than knocking on doors? So the question is, where do you find people who might have the munchies? So the father and his daughter took that stand with all their cookies and put it right in front of a weed shop that sold marijuana stuff. And they sold out in a couple of hours. People coming out and it's like, I'll buy a box of cookies. You should buy 10 boxes. I'm not that hungry, but you will be. Oh, you got me there. Yeah. So the hub was the weed shop. That's where they went. Where are we going to find our ideal clients? And they went there. So a little hub marketing brainstorm. Bradley, was there a niche that you saw earlier that you thought really stood out that was particularly interesting?
Let me just rewind. There was lots.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Where was a clear one? Okay, Doug Walker, somatic therapy for young adults who struggle with self-trust in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay, so young adults struggling with self-trust in Boulder. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set a timer. And I'm going to invite everyone in the chat to brainstorm on Doug's behalf. Where could Doug find these young adults who are struggling with self-trust? And by the way, if you're in Boulder or you know resources in Boulder, let's put some URLs and something specific. But if you were all the marketing team, we got 85. So if everyone just put one idea, we'd have almost 100 ideas. So let's see if we can hit 100. Where could Doug find these young adults struggling with self-doubt? Right? They don't trust themselves.
Definitely the weed shop next to the Girl Guide cookie place.
That's not a terrible point. Okay, but what have we got? We got the Pearl Street Mall. Okay, so somebody who knows the area. The therapists, yes. High schools, right? A gaming store. Yeah, schools, comic book store, eating disorder treatment facilities, the weed shop, yeah, the university campus, martial arts studios, right? They may go because they want to feel more. Oh, right. How about boxing studios, record stores, colleges, libraries, skateboard parks, community centers, sports clubs, a university campus, the sports teams, malls, community centers for youth, doctors' offices where their parents are still attending appointments, the school counselor. Yeah, that's better than schools. The counselor in the school might be interested. Right, drinking on the streets with friends on a Friday, Saturday night. I knew a guy who was a men's coach, and he got a bunch of his clients because he just went to the sauna every day, and he would strike up conversations with people, with men. There's a lot of men in the saunas. And he'd strike up conversations, and he would get a bunch of those people as clients. Right, alone at the park, possibly treatment centers, counselors, movie theaters. Okay. Churches, yes. Through parents, yeah, parenting groups would probably be a hub. Also, parenting coaches could be one. Yeah, gyms. Yeah, if maybe they're dating coaches. It depends how young we're talking. But there could be all these things. So this is what hub marketing is about. Instead of trying to go approach people individually cold, they don't know us and we just go up and talk to them. Instead of that, we ask ourselves, where do they hang out? Where might we find them? Who might already be connected to them who could endorse me? So there's the 5 levels. There's so much more to say about all of them, but these are the 5 fundamentals. So I'm curious, for the next year, if you were going to focus and go deeper on one of these, which one stands out as the one that you think you would want to focus on the most? In the chat, I'd love to see which one of the 5 fundamentals feels like this is the one for me right now. Okay, so I'm hearing and seeing a lot of hubs. Okay, man, it's exclusively hubs so far. Okay, niche for Doug. Yeah, some niche, some point of view. And Doug, you're welcome for the brainstorm. Business model. Just knowing which level to focus on can be very powerful in your marketing. Yeah, good. Okay, yes, we got it all over the 5 levels. None of you ethics, which is not surprising. But I really encourage you to think about it for this next year, whether or not you work with me or anybody, you do it by yourself. Pick this one and focus on it. There's tons of resources from lots of coaches. There's so much for free, on YouTube you can find, but pick the one and really drill down on it for this year. And isn't it true that the business you love, that we talked about at the beginning, has these 5 fundamentals down? Isn't that true? This business that you admire, if you think about it, aren't its ethics really good? You trust them at that level. Don't they have a clear niche? They're doing something unique and remarkable and interesting. Don't they have a clear kind of perspective, aesthetic kind of take on things? Don't they have good offers in their business model? Haven't they thought through the structure of their business well? And don't they have good partnerships and relationships with other hubs in the communities? Now, they may not have all 5, but my guess is they have a lot of them. If they're successful, and it's a business you admire, I'd love to see in the chat, is that true? Or like, how many out of 5 does this business have, do you think? How well are they doing? Like, what kind of score would you give them overall? Right, okay, so yeah, so I'm seeing 5, all 5, 4 of them. Yeah, 5, 4.5, 5. So there you can see it proved out in your own experience. The businesses that you admire the most, they've never gone through my workshop. They never heard about 5 fundamentals, nor do they need to. And yet they're already doing it intuitively. So if you want your business to be the kind of business that people would speak about in a workshop like this and rave about, these I would submit are also the 5 things. Now, some final thoughts. If I do the 5 fundamentals, will my business work? Maybe, I don't know. But if you don't, I can promise it won't. Right? There's more that's needed beyond the 5 fundamentals, like bookkeeping, design, Facebook ads, but none of those things are useful without these 5 fundamentals. I mean, can you conceive of a business working that is deeply unethical, is trying to be everything to everybody, has no opinions on anything, has a terrible or non-existent business model, and is just trying to do cold marketing and reach people and sell people individually instead of building relationships? Like, can you wrap your head around how that would work? I can't. So will your business work? I don't know. I just know that if you want to get a designer to design your website and you have these 5 things, they'll be grateful that you do. And you're coming with that kind of clarity. If you want to do Facebook ads and you have all these things thought through, you're going to have a much better use of that money. Everything else in your business gets easier when these 5 fundamentals are handled. And another thought. Okay, wait. So is that yeah. So remember, depth is the antidote to desperation. If you're feeling desperate in your business, if you're feeling desperate about your situation, just consider, can you go deeper into these 5 things? Because when we're desperate, what happens is, one thing people do is, I'm going to get another degree. I'll get certified in another modality. I'll learn this approach. That's what's going to handle my business situation. Or we get distracted, don't we? Oh, I'll just scroll endlessly on TikTok and Instagram all night. Certainly, we can get discouraged, obviously. And we can get deceptive. This is one of the things I've noticed. When people are desperate for money, this is when the predators come out and say, come to my course and you're going to learn the magic phrases you can say. And if you say it, nobody will ever be able to say no to you. And you're just going to get all the deals, and business is going to work easy by doing this quick, easy thing. And all it means is you're going to have to be a little deceptive. but they rationalize the deception, right? So when we're desperate, we get deceptive sometimes. We're prone to it. But here's the challenge with all four of those approaches. They deepen the desperation. The wrong thing gets deepened. Yeah, because none of them work ultimately. None of them actually solve the problem. I mean, if you look at those four, you can see it, I hope. None of those actually address the real issue. And so it's worse now. And time has passed, and more money's been spent, and we're more desperate. So how long does it take for the 5 fundamentals approach? Well, how big a priority is it for you from 1 to 10? If it's a big priority and you focus on it, it happens faster. And if it's not, it just takes longer. I mean, there's no shame in that. It's just good to know. It's the question is not how long does it take really, but how big a priority is. But if it's a big priority, in 1 hour, like today, hopefully you see some gaps. Okay, I can see what's missing. In 1 month, you'll see more gaps. In 6 months, you will feel discouraged. I promise you. It's like lifting weights and you just don't see any progress. Like I'm doing the work and I don't see more muscle. Oh, it's heartbreaking. But in 9 months, you will start to get it. It's something will click. Yeah, and you see muscle now. You see some growth, and it's like, okay. In a year, you're going to see some real progress. And in 3 years, if you really work on this, if this is a priority, your business will be transformed. But this isn't a next month kind of arrangement I'm proposing. So those are the 5. Where does the sales and pitching fit in? Right here. I couldn't even make this small enough in Canva. It should be much smaller. People want to know, how do I sell people? How do I pitch? How do I all of this? It's so tiny. It comes at the very top of everything. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying let's put it in proportion. Real small. Okay, so there's the starter kit again. So if you want to dive deeper into this, you want to recap it, here's where you can go, marketingforhippies.com/starter kit. If you want to check out my membership, marketingforhippies.com/membership. And in closing, I want to share, remember, depth is the antidote to desperation. Be clear what you want to deepen in. That's the secret. Don't deepen into distraction. I urge you, if you're trying to make more money, don't deepen into another degree necessarily. Don't deepen into deception, certainly. And absolutely do not deepen into discouragement. Don't go there. No good. And here's a poem. It's called Half Lovers by Khalil Gibran. And I love this poem so much. So I'll end with this. Do not love half lovers. Do not entertain half friends. Do not indulge in the works of the half talented. Do not live half a life. Do not die half a death. If you choose silence, then be silent. When you speak, do so until you're finished. Do not silence yourself to say something, and don't speak to be silent. If you accept, then express it bluntly. Do not mask it. If you refuse, then be clear about it. For an ambiguous refusal is but a weak acceptance. Do not accept half a solution. Do not believe half truths. Do not dream half a dream. Do not fantasize about half hopes. Half a drink will not quench your thirst. Half a meal will not satiate your hunger. Half the way will get you nowhere. Half an idea will bear you no results. Half a life is a life you didn't live, a word you have not said, a smile you postponed, a love that you have not had, a friendship you did not know. To reach and not arrive, work and not work, attend only to be absent. It is what makes you a stranger to them closest to you, and they strangers to you. The half is a mere moment of inability, but you are able. You are not half a being. You are a whole that exists to live a life, and not half a life. So half the ethics will ruin your reputation. Half a niche will confuse people and bring you the wrong clients. Half a point of view will leave people unconvinced. Half a business model won't shelter you. And half the relationships with hubs won't get you enough clients. So take a deep breath. And your marketing is yours again. I give it back to you. And with that, I give you my immense thanks for attending. That's the end.
Beautiful. That was great, man. I'm glad we waited. It
Me
was
too.
like wine in time, We you just had to leave us hanging to deliver that. That was a beautiful workshop. So much to take away. I look back on 20 years of building my business and marketing, and I tried all the tactics that you talk about at the beginning, and everything felt wrong, and everything made me want to quit doing business. And slowly but surely trying to question, okay, if I try this, does this feel better? But the way that you've formulated into the 5 pieces that matter most to make the marketing feel good was just so clear and succinct. Great job, man. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, 1 second.
You're getting lots of love in the chat.
Let's see. Let's see. Well, I'm just going to stop recording and then we'll continue. 1 second.